Okay, and welcome back to the second episode for 2025, end of January. I know for some people it just felt like January's had 11 million days, but tomorrow is the last day of January. We have a new moon. We had the year of the snake start yesterday. Chinese year of the snake, which is transformation and shedding the old. And I was thinking about it earlier. Like, I think there's a lot of things people are going to get unstuck from this year. I'm already seeing it. I'm already feeling it. And I'm very excited that we have our first guest for 2025, but my manners are running away from me. Before we introduce Bandile, Jo, how are you?
I am good. I'm so good. I'm really happy that I felt the energy shift, but it's just feeling better and better. There are already some dynamics where I'm braving getting unstuck. And it always does take, I always say it takes bravery to be brave. So we just got to acknowledge all of that. But I'm good. And I'm also really excited to have Bandile as a guest. So excited.
So welcome, Bandile.
Bandile
Sibuyi. So just a little bit
I
of
was just saying that to be the first guest in the new year.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you are. You are kicking off the new year. And I'm very excited about the subject that we're actually going to talk about with you. But just to give you a bit of background, I have known Bandile since he was in grade 11. Is that right? Yes. And we met at ProTech Saturday School. And I'll never forget, I tutored life skills, and I asked the class if anyone had a big dream, and Bandile, I think, was one of the only people that put up his hand and stood up and said, I want to be a famous author and I want to write books. And here he is at the age of 27.
I'll be turning 27 this year. It was 10 years ago.
And he moved back down to the Lowveld a couple of years ago. And he lives where I live on the farm. He's an amazing maths and science tutor, but that's not why he's here today. Because Bandile has published on YouTube a couple of audiobooks, which he's going to talk about. But the one thing that fascinates me is he has used AI to help him in this process. And I know there is a lot of chat on the internet, especially from writers and content creators going like, this is the death of creative thought and writing. And, we're all going to be out of work. And what's the point of like trying to craft a book? Because you can just put it in AI and AI will just produce it for you. But of course, it's not that simple. I started working with paid chat earlier this month, and it's been absolutely phenomenal in terms of saving me time, but also just expanding my own way of thinking. And I'm actually in awe of what Bandile has created on YouTube with his books, which he's doing in episodes. So Bandile, I want to ask you, just give us a little bit of a background of your writing, because I know so many people say, oh, I want to be a writer, but I know from you that it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and wanting to slit wrists occasionally, and I'm never doing this again. So how did you get to where you are now before we start delving into how AI has supported you on this journey?
Right, thank you. I've always wanted to be a writer. I think I figured out around the age of 8 that people actually write books and stories come from somewhere. Over the holidays, school holidays, on SABC2, they used to play children's movies because I don't think a lot of people even had DSTV or whatever during that time. So we were watching, my siblings and I, Harry Potter. And there used to be a computer program. I've forgotten what it was called, but it was for kids. And you could go on there, and it worked as like a sort of online encyclopedia, like, but before Wikipedia. But you could go on there and search for some things. It didn't have a lot of information. But when I searched for Harry Potter, I think J.K. Rowling came up. And that was the only time I actually realized that people write stories. And from then on, I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. And so I have been writing since then, written a lot of things. However, I really struggled to bring it to the level of quality that I was happy with. And so, I mean, being creative is one thing, but actually being skilled and having the resources to write in a certain language and know all the technicalities that are involved and having the time and energy and money to do that, that is a whole other thing. And that has been the biggest barrier for me. I would work on projects up to a point where if I looked for advice, it was always the same. It's either you join a writing group, a writers group, or you get beta readers, or you pay an editor to take it from there. And that's where I always got stuck.
Okay. So what did you do to get beyond that point of being stuck? What happened?
Yeah, well, I would just keep writing different things. But I think recently, probably 2 or 3 years ago, there's been this one story that I really have I've been writing it for many years. And I finally felt like it was at a point where I can take the next step to try and get it published. But I knew that it wasn't ready for me to start querying agents or publishers. So, fortunately enough, I was able to start paying an editor to look at it. And she went through it and she gave advice and whatever. But still, she wasn't telling me anything I didn't know. It's just that I couldn't do it. I didn't have the energy or the time or the expertise to take it any further. I had done everything I could. And so I think I was tutoring a group, and I had heard of ChatGPT and tried it out and whatever. And at that time, it was still very new. And even when I tried to use it as an editor, it didn't produce like good quality feedback or whatever. It wasn't impressive. But I had one of the students in my class talk about a different type of writing AI. I forgot what it was called then. And what he had done, he had invented a character, gave it qualities, and then started chatting to it. And that character had a pseudo consciousness, and it could talk back to him and all of that. And I thought, that's different. And so I got that AI program and I started programming things into it so that it could reflect my story back to me. So that was the earliest version of AI I felt could be used to assist a writer creatively and with editing, because it really got into the nuance and the details of writing. But then ChatGPT improved over time because AI improves exponentially. If it's twice as great today, it will be 4 times, 8 times, 16 times. It improves very rapidly. And so only now has it gotten to a stage where I could use it as an editor for grammar, whatever, and just to clean up my work and make it presentable and all of that.
Okay.
But I think the big thing that people need to understand as writers is that the ChatGPT is not there to start from scratch. You have your creative idea, right?
Yeah.
People are sure books are going to come out that's completely 100% written by AI. We know that that's already happening.
Yeah.
But you use it, and the whole point of this is we want people to get this unstuck from the resistance of using AI and really like stepping into it. What kind of messaging do you have when people say, it's going to pull from all the creativity, especially as such a passionate author, using AI?
Right. First of all, it's not conscious. So of course it can be used to do that. There's no way you could stop that. However, it it falls, even as it gets better, you cannot use it to generate the type of ideas and style that a human being would creatively, because it is trying to imitate a human being and how a human being thinks and writes. It falls into that uncanny valley where it's trying too hard to imitate what human beings sound like, or what matters to them, or what stories they find interesting. So I really don't ever see that happening anytime soon. And for people who sort of push back on that, if you're a creative person, firstly, you don't want anything to take that process away from you, because that's what you actually like doing, the writing itself. So you won't hand it over to anything or anyone else to do it. So for someone like myself, I needed to help me with the things that would only be available to someone who has access to editors and whatever industry professionals who could do that job, but at a certain price or to a certain standard. And the real advantage with AI is not the creativity, it's the speed and accuracy, which is what computers do. They work very fast and they work efficiently. So that's the only advantage that comes with having AI helping you out as a writer. It helps you work faster and it helps you work more efficiently. It does not take away your job. You still have to write.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that AI cannot replicate is the energy behind words. And I mean, you even get that in a WhatsApp. If you get a WhatsApp from a friend, it might be a few sentences and you'll message back and go like, "What's up?" Because you just feel that something is off. They haven't said anything. And it was so interesting. The actress Reese Witherspoon has just launched a page on LinkedIn for her charity. And it's lovely. It's very professional. And she has come in for such criticism because the blurb, which is quite extensive, is not her. It's obviously a team have set up the page and they've used AI to generate the content. And it has been absolutely crucified on LinkedIn. It's like, come on. Like you can't, and they're right. It's beautiful words. It's beautifully put together. There is zero feeling in it whatsoever. And I think that's what people forget. The way I write is so different from the way Joe writes, which is so different from the way you write. Some people like the way I write. Others come to you. Others come to Joe. AI cannot replicate that energy.
No.
It can pick up your tone, absolutely. But still, we all have unique mannerisms and the way of saying things and the way of putting things across. And that energy, that human energy, is not something I think in the foreseeable future that AI can replicate. But certainly, I mean, I tend to waffle when I write. I write way too much. So I know that for visual people, I lost them, 3 chapters or 3 paragraphs ago. So I will ask AI to rewrite it more concisely, and then I'll go back and look at it and go, okay, no, this doesn't work for me. But it can be such a supportive tool for anyone who wants to put their writing out there and is competing in a very crowded space at the moment, because everybody wants to be a writer. And this I think is where the problem has come in, that some people are just throwing this information into AI and saying, please produce a book for me. and then just, okay, it reads okay, we'll just publish it, and there's no feeling to it. And it's the feeling and the emotion that we must remember, which so much of writing is about, especially in the areas where the three of us write.
True. Yeah. And I mean, to assume that that type of low level, poor quality writing could ever take over actual creative human emotion writing is to underestimate the intelligence of the people who consume that creative content. There's still people who are going to buy those books, watch those movies, listen to those podcasts or whatever. So there's no way that something of such poor quality would take the real stuff over, even if it's a lot of it. It can't.
Yeah. So before because I want to go a little bit more into how you've used it, especially with your audiobooks, but if you were giving tips to people who are sort of going into writing or looking at AI and thinking, should I, shouldn't I? Are there a couple of tips that you would give them to starting with AI?
Well, it would obviously, the first thing is to try to figure out, well, obviously what you need it for. Where are you falling short? And where do you feel like it would most benefit you? And then the second part is learning the best ways for you to learning the best prompt engineering skills to yourself. So the real challenge is figuring out how to communicate the same thing in different ways, because that's where the challenge comes up. And that is why you have to know a lot about whatever it is that you're trying to get AI to help you with. Don't try to get the AI to educate you. You have to educate yourself about that topic, and then only ask AI to help you in terms of saving time, saving energy, and all of that. Not help you. It's not a substitute for becoming an expert in your field. So if you're trying to use it for that, then that's not a good idea, because what all that prompt engineering is knowing how to express the same thing in many different ways, so that until the communication between yourself and the language model is clear. Because it isn't that AI isn't smart enough to do what you're asking it to do. It's that it's misunderstanding what you're trying to get it to do. That's what happens very often when you're starting out. But if you're an expert in your field, you will know how to calibrate what you're trying to get it to do until it gets to that point. So just make sure that what you're trying to do is something that you know very well.
Okay. Because Joe, you've made your chat quite specific to you.
So I started off by uploading into chat. So I have a coaching playbook. So it has the way that I have created over all the years, how I see each of the numbers in numerology, how I see each of the zodiac signs and all of that. So I put that into chat. So so mine is totally for efficiency. I use chat completely for efficiency. Chat doesn't teach me anything. So when I'm creating a personality blueprint or a numerology profile, all that kind of stuff, all the templates are in there. I don't Google anymore. So I'll ask chat just like information. If you want general information, you can pull it. But I clean out my memory at the end of every day. So the only thing that remains in my memory is what I have programmed chat. So if you had to go into my chat, the only thing that sits in the memory is this is my format for my personality blueprint. These are the core soft skills. This is how Aries is the archetype of the pioneer. This is what the one energy in numerology means to me and from me. It's
Okay.
an incredible search engine. Bandile,
Yeah.
I don't know if you use it just generally as a search engine. And it's also very entertaining. I mean, we can't take away from how entertaining it can be. Like at the dinner table, sometimes we sit and open Chat GPT and we have a debate with it, as a family. But I agree completely with Bandile that it's really it's not for you to it's not ever going to replace the ability to learn information, come up with the creative ideas. You can prompt it, but that shortfall will always be, it's going to be a lack of creativity or really watered down. So if I do put your birth date in and not use my astrological software to do your chart, I can guarantee you that it would get something wrong in your profile. It would say your moon is Gemini when your moon is actually Sagittarius. It would get something wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, Bandile, now to get on to these audiobooks, because I'm fascinated at the quality,
Yeah.
the fact that you used AI to narrate, and I know that you weren't 100% happy with it. But can you just talk us a little bit through this process? And what we'll do is when we put this podcast out, we'll actually put the links to your channel so people can actually go and see what you've created, because it's amazing. I mean, when you launched that first chapter, I was like, oh my word, this is just like incredible. So just tell us a little bit about that process and where for you what didn't work and what did work and what, I mean, I don't know, has it been improving as you do each chapter or yeah?
Well, yeah, it has been improving, but also the text to speech has also come a long way in a very short period of time. I had tried it out as well a couple of months ago prior to when I started the channel, and it just wasn't good. But I guess they kept training it, and it's much, much better now. But it's still not where I would like it to be. So I thought to myself, the traditional route of publishing is actually quite difficult when you're trying to access it from a point of writing fiction, especially now. If you don't have a big profile to begin with, or where your client base can be taken from, it's difficult to be a random person who's a creative who writes fiction to start selling books. So publishers have become very picky. So I thought to myself, I am writing these books anyway, so let me just get them published. And I thought, okay, if I could get them published in audiobook format, the next challenge was you have to have high quality of audio to be able to do that, which is another barrier. But if you take your text and turn it into speech with AI, you don't have to worry about background noise or whatever, or getting a expensive microphone or or paying someone to read it. And because it's different books, I couldn't be the one reading all the books, because if it's a children's book or it's fantasy or it's historical fiction, it sounds different every time. So yeah, I found the software that I was using to be the best, and I'm using different avatars to read each book. And yeah, they've gotten better as they continue to read more of the book. They're starting to get a sense of where to put emphasis, where to slow down, where to speed up. And I remember I was playing it for someone, I think one of the kids that I tutor, and he said, "Why does it sound like he's breathing?" And that's one of the improvements that the AI has now. It sounds like a human being. Yeah, so the quality of the reading has improved. I do feel like it still has some way to go, but it is good enough. for me to start and put the content out there. But also, just at a human level, having been writing for all this time and not sharing my work with anyone, I just felt like, you know what, it doesn't get better than this. I just have to get it out there now. The quality of the AI will catch up. All of this will catch up and whatever. Yeah, so that's one of the other reasons why I thought, okay, it's not where I want it to be, but I think it's good enough to start. Just to also have I feel like this is just the beginning of whatever this is, and I feel like it's a great advantage to jump in now, so that when all the huge improvements come in, at least I'll have my foot in through the door.
Mm-hmm. I just think that's so beautiful, though, and it's the whole. It's almost like the whole point of this podcast is just start from where you are. You know, we were talking about it earlier before we started recording. It's like, you know, we don't have fancy microphones. We will get there, but it was never going to stop us doing this podcast. And it's the same with you. Yes, it wasn't perfect. Yes, there were things that went wrong or not 100%, but you still put it out there. And I think there are so many people that just get so stuck in wanting to do it. You know, they've got an idea for a book. It doesn't matter how big or small the book is. And sometimes it's never even about doing it for other people. It's getting out what is in your heart. And I think that's the other thing, and possibly the downside of so many very public, visible platforms is people are so scared, like, oh, what if I put it out and nobody buys it? You know, what if I put it out and nobody reads it? What if it gets pulled to pieces? Well, if you're going to put anything in the public domain, you're never going to keep everyone happy. But then you have to, why are you doing it? And sometimes it's just to go, I wrote a book and I actually published it. AI helped me tidy it up. I've just used AI because we're on the last stages of getting my book onto Kindle. And I asked AI to help me with a summary. I put in what that I thought should be there, and then gave it the gist of the book. And then asked it to help me do a summary, and then went back and worked on that because I didn't really know what was wanted. And the moment I said Kindle summaries, like AI knows, it's tapped into that. So it just is for anyone who's got this, like, oh, I really wish I could start. AI can really help you start. It's not going to do a lot of the work. It could give you the ideas. You know, if you say, I have this idea, can you embellish a little bit on it? But I just think when I see what you've done, Bandile, with it now, I'm just blown away by how you've worked. And it's not like you went and did an expensive AI course.
No.
You figured it out.
And the other side of that is that just to get unstuck from embracing AI. Yeah. And there's so many different ones. There's actually a delightful one called Pi. I have it on my phone. It's very chatty. It's got different types of personalities. Just to get into the habit of, because you can speak to AI now. Speaking to AI, seeing the kind of answers, trying to understand and trying to figure out where in your life AI can fit in. If it can, it's writing letters for people. It's helping people word things and phrase things. You know, the book is the big picture, right? But just in everyday life, I mean, in a lot of the stuff that I'm going through, I'm really focused on healthier eating. I mean, I'm always focused on healthier eating. And I wanted a list of all the micronutrients that are important. So I got that from my eating coach. And then I asked my chat to create a table for me of all the plant-based foods into a table format of where I could get the vitamin B12, where I could get the iron, where the magnesium comes from, where the potassium comes from. And it was a list that was ready to print out without me having to do anything. So a lot of this is also just to get unstuck from the fear of AI, and that it's not going to take over the world. It's not. It's going to shift how we do things. It will definitely shift how we do things. And it's time to shift how we do things and embrace AI, because it's getting better, it's getting stronger, it's getting more and more helpful. And don't be aware and conscious that it can do things, that are voice cloning, and we can get into all of that and fearmonger, but we can actually look at how does AI benefit you. It has absolutely 100% changed my life and my career. Bandile, it's changed your life and your career. I mean, that paid version, we were just sitting, when we were together.
Yeah.
It's incredible, right?
Well, I used it yesterday for hospice. We're busy launching a new initiative. And I had to send some things through, and chat helped me do it in a fraction of the time it would have taken me to figure out what I want to say and how I want to say it. It just was amazing. And on that note, Bandile and I, on the 10th of February at 7 p.m. South African time, and we're repeating it again on Saturday the 15th, we're doing a free webinar on expanding your writing potential, whatever that writing is, with AI. So you can come with your questions. Bandile's just going to chat about how he's used it and how it's really putting your writing out there, which I'm so happy about. So when we share it, I'll also put the details, and we'll share the post about the webinar. But it is time for people to get unstuck from this fear that artificial intelligence is taking over the world, because it's not going. I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime anyway.
Yeah, but also artificial intelligence it's sort of like a gathering pool of our intelligence. That's human intelligence in there. It's not anything that human beings don't know. It's just giving us easier access to it, faster access to it, to actually have a conversation with it. Whereas something like a search engine would make it difficult to make use of the information, even though we did have it. But you couldn't communicate with it and say, I don't understand that, or get clarity or whatever. You couldn't have a conversation with it. And that is truly the advantage of what AI brings, I feel.
That is such a beautiful definition of AI. It's the gathering of human intelligence. I don't think we could have ended off with a better way of putting it. So, Bandile, thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge and your information with us. And we will also, we'll share Bandile's links for you, and definitely the link to his YouTube channel. And we wish you all the best with this very fast-moving writing career of yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Amazing. It was so lovely to have you.
And we will see you all next time.
Next time. With that, say goodbye.
Bye.